The foreign fraud in America is completely out of control. We're going to hear from Rand Paul, J.D. Vance, and Jim Jordan on this issue. It's just ludicrous. Vance is talking about the H-1B visas, and others are talking about a lot of the daycare-related fraud. It's just not good. Rand Paul says American jobs should go to American citizens, not foreign fraudsters. Thank you, POTUS and VP, for rooting out this kind of fraud and fighting for the American people. Vance, I'm proud to announce the Federal Department of Labor has started dozens of subpoenas and investigations into foreign fraudsters. Let's watch the video.
Now, I want to talk about another fraud crackdown, and this is almost hard to believe. But, we have a program called the H-1B visa program. This goes to show how broad-based the fraud task force is. We're fighting for your taxpayer money, but we're also making sure that fraudsters don't take advantage of these visa programs. Now, why does this program exist? This is a visa program that was set up to ensure that if you were a brilliant technology person or a brilliant scientist or a brilliant doctor, you could come to
like Elon Musk. It's great to have him coming in. Democrats used to love him as well. Back when they thought he was the prime example of environmentalism or something, just because he has Tesla. But now they hate him. But he's done huge things for America. He's going to bring us to outer space, to Mars maybe, and we're going to get Tesla bots next year. And he's got his new internet services, etc.
The United States and get access to this visa program. But you know what's happening way too much? Is that big corporations and fraudsters overseas are using this program to undercut the wages of American workers. So you know what we're doing in the Trump administration? We're saying no more. If you were trying to take advantage of that visa program, you are not allowed in to the United States of America. Today, I'm proud to announce that the Federal Department of Labor has started dozens of subpoenas and investigations into foreign fraudsters who are trying to take advantage of the H-1B visa program. Here's a simple principle. Ladies and gentlemen, American jobs ought to go to American workers and not foreign fraudsters, and the Department of Labor is fighting back against it.
There you go. That's good.
Hearing with her last
and then we got Jim Jordan here talking more about this fraud. It sure looks evidence is pointing out a direction that they were taking a lot of foreign money.
Refuses to hand over documents.
Yeah.
Is contempt or is the Department of Justice the best way to get answers now?
Well, maybe, I think both.
Yeah.
Frankly, we may have to go to contempt. We want this information. And by the way, if I was, frankly, her, I think if anyone was her, I'd have probably taken the fifth too. Because remember, we had already deposed her entire fraud prevention team, who had all either resigned, been forced to resign, or fired. So there are 3 top lawyers, in-house lawyers. There are 2 fraud prevention specialists who were running this thing. We deposed all them. They all took the fifth. And then their board member said it looks like maybe 38 million came from foreign sources. That was an email that we did have in our investigation. And then finally, you had the outside counsel who sent the letter to Ms. Wallace-Jones a year ago saying it looks like the first response you gave to Congress in writing may not be accurate, and there may be knowing and willful attempts to mislead Congress. When you use those terms, knowing and willful, that means something. That says something. So with all that fact pattern, I would have probably taken the fifth too if I was her. So that's the situation. And now we want documents. We want documents particularly from one of their lawyers who wrote a resignation letter. We think that's going to lay out some of the stuff that we suspect was going on there. We'd like to get that document and some other documents as well, and that's what we've subpoenaed. We'll see if they comply.
So, Mr. Chairman, this investigation involves elections past. Do you have any?
It's disgusting that this is even happening in this country. How can foreigners be funding and fueling American elections and manipulating the American people through propaganda, effectively using companies in the U.S., organizations in the U.S. to fund just propaganda to the American people? It's terrible.
Evidence that they're making changes, or they're going to change what's happening in an election now as we're gearing up for the midterms?
Well, the fact that we're watching, that we're investigating, 3 committees of the United States Congress, the fact that the Justice Department is looking into this, if that doesn't send a message, the fact that you got a letter from, oh, by the way, the counsel who wrote him the memorandum saying you may have misled Congress, that wasn't just some Republican law. That was a big law firm here in town, and it was Dana Remus, former White House counsel for Joe Biden. So with all that fact pattern, they better be on top of preventing illegal foreign contributions coming into ActBlue. The other thing I'd point out is, remember, this is the fundraising machine. This is the juggernaut behind Democrat left campaigns. This is ActBlue bringing in billions of dollars every election cycle. And again, we think, and it sure looks like the evidence is pointing in that direction, that they were taking a lot of foreign money, which is why we're looking into it.
And you also know that the DOJ is executing the largest federal health care fraud crackdown in U.S. history. At the same time, 455 defendants charged across 45 states in connection with more than $6.5 billion in alleged fraud. They seized more than $182 million in cash, luxury vehicles, jewelry. Really, the list goes on and on, Mr. Chairman, and we know it doesn't end there. So how did this become so widespread, so embedded?
Well, part of it is just the amount of money the federal government has out there in various programs. I think the other part is the lack of checks and balances on the front end before the money goes out the door. I think all that's going on. And then, frankly, there were politics. We know up in Minneapolis, for example, one of the first things we learned about was this Feeding Our Future program, where during COVID, underprivileged kids it was designed to give meals to kids who weren't in school. Trouble was, up there in Minneapolis, there were no kids and no meals. They were just pocketing the money.
That's just unbelievable. I mean, the amount of foreign fraud that's influencing this country is just unbelievable. We got to crack down on this.
They were filling out a form saying, oh, we fed so many kids today, but there were no kids and no meals provided. They just pocketed the money, stuffed it in their pockets. That dynamic looks like was going on in lots of places. But up there it was in the Somali American community, and we had a Somali American who worked in the Attorney General's office there in Minnesota, who said the reason they didn't stop this was the politics. This was an important voting block. Their words, not mine. Important voting block, and the Democrats, the governor and the Attorney General up there, let it go on. So politics played a big part in all this. And now, God bless Todd Blanche and Colin McDonald, who are the key folks at the Justice Department who were focused on stopping this. And this indictment, again, as you point out, $6.5 billion. That's how big this thing was, and it was nationwide. I think it was like 40-some different states where they found this going on.
Oh, my God.
So God bless them for indicting.
40.
One of the best ways to stop something is to indict the people who do the wrongs.
It's just terrible. Then here you have more fraud uncovered by the Trump administration, preying on vulnerable Americans not in need of hospice care, billing the government for dead strangers, using 27 million taxpayers' dollars to live in luxury.
As fraudster, he had a few tactics. He would prey on vulnerable people who did not need hospice, and then also bill the government for deceased strangers.
Fox was there as Oren Sachar was arrested by the FBI in Los Angeles, charged with stealing 27 million taxpayer dollars in a hospice fraud scheme, allegedly using some of that money to buy this Rolls-Royce Phantom.
He was living the high life. He was making millions of dollars fraudulently and is very brazen. And he finally got caught, and now he's looking at significant prison time.
Federal prosecutors say Sachar operated multiple fraudulent hospices, including one spelled as Holy Trinity. Sachar billed Medicare.
There we go again, just like the Somali ones they couldn't spell. They wrote, you remember the Leering Center instead of Learning Center? That's probably all they do is leer at people.
Using names and personal information of dead people that his hospice never treated.
Sounds like a Democrat, just using the names of dead people to push an agenda.
Getting up to $33,000 per patient a year. Prosecutors are also charging 2 accomplices, including this man, Abraham Shin, who allegedly helped connect Sachar with Jeannie Choi, the manager of a mortuary, who gave Sachar names of people who recently passed in exchange for cash. Medicare Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz says Los Angeles' 1,800 hospices make up roughly 1/3 of the hospice licenses nationwide. The Trump administration is scrutinizing home health and hospices and has suspended 800 California licenses.
We're going to keep aggressively going at this problem because when we go after hospice in California, guess what happens? Hospice in Nevada went up 7-fold. Hospice in Arizona, hospice in Texas, they've all gone up.
Could this be why healthcare in America is so expensive? Just maybe, possibly, because of all the fraud with fake daycares and fake hospices, and we don't even know what we're paying for anymore. It's just ludicrous. We should be helping people more,
doing
and it's just not happening. So I think that's really unfortunate. Here's, I think, the last one on this healthcare fraudulent behavior.
How does the Trump administration crack down on fraud?
Well, I think the first big takeaway for me is, why did it take the Trump administration to do it? I mean, where was the Biden administration? This fraud just didn't start yesterday. It's been going on for a while. So, God bless Todd Blanche. God bless Colin McDonald, the point guy at the Justice Department who's focused on this issue. As you pointed out, I think it was $6.5 billion in fraud they uncovered, charged, I think, 400 and some people just this past week. So, and really it started when President Trump had Elon Musk and the whole Doge effort. So I think that's the big takeaway for me is, why did it take so long to do this? So you got this much money going out the door. There's probably some fraud. Thank goodness the Trump administration is now beginning to deal with it.
Absolutely, because no one was doing anything about it before. They weren't talking about it. And people would say, oh, yeah, maybe there's some fraud, but, it's not that big. And it really, obviously, is big. And you think of all the people who didn't get benefits or could have gotten more benefits if the fraudsters hadn't been operating and taking, what legitimately should have gone to them. I want to get your thoughts, though, on this. The president is...
I feel that lady right there. She knows what she's talking about. I'm having the same reaction to this nonsense.
Saying that he's not going to sign that bipartisan housing bill, which does sound pretty good, until the Save America Act comes to his desk. And now 25 House Republicans are threatening to bring House business to a halt, not do anything until the president gets this on his desk. So where are you on that?
Well, we definitely want to get the Save America Act passed. I mean, this is just, as we've said, I don't know how many times, it's just good common sense, for goodness sake. Oh, show a photo ID when you vote, make sure you're actual citizens voting. That is a 90-some% issue, I would bet, across the country. So why the Democrats oppose that, I'll never know, but they do. My guess is it's for political reasons. So yeah, let's get it done. We may have to put part of it on reconciliation. It's something the speaker's talked about. I'm for whatever avenue makes it happen. Let's just make it happen because it's good common sense. But I think the real takeaway here is, I think that's what the midterm election is about. We're the party of common sense. The left is now the party of crazy. The left now controls the Democrat Party. They're for every crazy position you can think about. So,
well, yeah, it's not just the left, though. I mean, yeah, a couple of actual classical liberals might be all right, but once in a while. But we're talking about socialist stuff. The majority of the Democrat Party prefers socialism over capitalism. This is not good. I mean, what's going to happen when the boomers are no longer around and my millennial generation is voting, the ones that appear to be the most pro-socialist, and then Gen Z? I really don't know what the politics of Gen Z are going to be at all. Seems all over the place. Some people say they're going to be more right-wing. Some people are going to say they're going to be far left-wing. But, the real problem is the education system failed these people dramatically from at least the 40s, current age, on down. For young people, as the extreme left took over the public education system, refused to teach people civics, refused to teach people anything about Western civilization as well. And now everyone doesn't seem to understand the concept of a public service. I'm probably going to keep harping on this a lot, just so when angry people watch my videos, they can learn something. But firefighters are not socialism. It's a public service that the government pays for. Okay, the government is paying other people. They set aside money in their budget to fund the fire department, typically in most cities, and then the fire department decides how it's going to spend those funds to the best of their ability. So, the government paying for something doesn't mean it controls the means of production. Socialism is when the government controls the means of production. So socialists must believe that the government is the one creating fires or something based on their useless ideology, which doesn't make any sense. Although that was in that movie Backdraft, if you've seen that old movie.
I said this the other day. I think this election is really about, you could summarize it in two sentences. They're crazy, we're not. And go tell the voters about all the positions they take, whether it's defunding the police, defunding ICE, men and women's sports, no photo ID, shutting down the government, all the positions they take. And we've seen even more of this just this past Tuesday and what happened in the New York primary. So I think that's a key thing. But this act alone, this SAVE Act, I think demonstrates the left, which now controls the Democrat Party, has embraced every crazy position there is. Let's go tell the voters about that. And I think that's how we keep the majority.
Congressman, you mentioned what happened.
I think so. I think the Democrats have to lose a ton of moderates if they're continuing to push socialism, right? Moderates have got to be going to the right to vote Republican if this is what the Democrats are deciding to do.
In New York, the Democratic Socialist Movement, is it just a coastal thing, or is it taking over the entire party? What do you see, and are you thrilled about it in terms of the midterms?
No. Well, first of all, the first question, I don't know. I don't know how much this is going to go. I do know that the left now has control of that party, which is sad. And I think in a general sense, this is bad. This is bad for the country when you have socialist, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic taking over the Democrat Party. The once great party of FDR and JFK is now anti-Israel and pro-socialism. I think that is a bad thing for our great country. So it's so bad. Think about the race with Dan Goldman in New York. Dan Goldman was the impeachment counselor that Adam Schiff selected, brought on his committee. I spent 4 months in the bunker in the basement of the Capitol going through depositions with Schiff and Goldman. We were down there for hearings and everything else when Adam Schiff was running his secret impeachment. He wasn't good enough for the Democrats.
They're going to do that again. Get out and vote this November. Because if the Democrats regain Congress, we're going to spend 2 years just dealing with impeachment proceedings against Trump, and there's going to be nothing else that happens.
He lost by 30-some points in that primary Tuesday in New York. So that's how radical this party's become. That is not good for the country.
They're open about it.
One of the major parties with this radical position.
Yeah, the Democrat Socialist Party is very open about it. They say they're using the Democrat Party basically as their entry ticket. Yeah. And when they get in there, they're taking over, and they're saying Hakeem Jeffries better be watching what we want.
Chuck Schumer as well, watch his back.
But again, going back to the House business, do you think that is the way to do it? I mean, does everything need to be put on hold until the SAVE Act gets through? And is that something that would even work, or does it just mean nobody gets anything done?
No, I don't necessarily think you need that tactic. I just think we need to focus on trying to get the SAVE Act done. We got other things we need to get done as well. We got the National Defense Authorization Act, other things that need to happen. But let's figure out a way to get the SAVE Act done. There's of course concerns in the Senate with the filibuster and the vote totals over there. This whole 60 vote requirement. But in the House, we passed it. But let's look at ways, if we have to use the reconciliation, which can bypass the 60 votes over there. I think there are elements that under the rules could be put on reconciliation, and we can get parts of the SAVE Act done. So
the SAVE Act needs to happen. You know, Senator Mike Lee's been pushing that one. A lot of other senators have pushed for it, but yeah, they need a lot of them to just to recommend that we start using voter ID for voting. What's the big deal there? Why don't the Democrats want that? It's very suspicious.
Let's look at doing that.
Chairman, your committee, the House Judiciary, now threatening to hold the Southern Poverty Law Center in contempt for withholding key documents. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, they're not giving it. We want to know how this whole field source operation, how it unfolded, what was going on there. So we want any documents, communications relative to that program, and then any communications that they had with the Biden administration. Because remember, the Southern Poverty Law Center, working with the Biden administration, became the standard. They evaluated who was a hate group, who wasn't. They labeled Family Research Council, moms.
And then we found out that they were a hate group. I mean, let's remember that the Biden administration was sending the FBI to city council meetings and meetings at schools to punish parents that complained about degenerate behavior in the public schools. And that's just not okay. They shouldn't be going after parents. Parents should have a voice in the type of education their children receive.
They probably labeled Newsmax a hate, or who knows? I mean, so this is how they became. They were meeting quarterly with the Justice Department. They brought in SPLC people to train prosecutors in the Biden Justice Department. So that, to me, was the big takeaway from this whole fraud scheme they were running. We want all those communications, and if they don't give them to us, everything's on the table, and then we may have to hold them in contempt.
Chairman, Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, Team USA. What are our chances?
Oh man, I wish the U.S. had beat Belgium, but at least we got to the round of 16. So that's something. But anyways, thanks for watching the video. Please like, share, comment. It's much appreciated. Have a fantastic day.